miles offshore. Officials have asked the public not to form individual search parties due to weather and safety conditions.
New developments in the investigation into the deadly mid-air collision between an Army helicopter and an American Airlines jet over Washington, D.C. A large section of that Black Hawk helicopter was recovered on Thursday. Senator Ted Cruz, who received a briefing yesterday from investigators, says a critical tracking system was turned off in the chopper at the time of the crash. That system is called Automatic Dependent Surveillance Broadcast. It tracks an aircraft's position, speed, and altitude. It's currently being looked into whether or not having that safety system off might have made it more difficult for air traffic controllers to track the Black Hawk as it moved through the area.
In the Reagan collision and the deadly plane crash last week in Philadelphia, federal investigators are hoping the plane's black boxes will provide answers to many of the outstanding questions that remain. While no substitute for the lives lost, these devices offer families the chance for clarity. And over the years, they've given authorities insights into how to make flying safer. So how exactly do these critical tools work, and what's the history behind them? Here's Black Boxes Simply Explained. In times of aviation crisis, authorities prioritize saving lives and recovering what's known as a black box. Can you, in simple terms, explain what a black box is?
To start off, I should note that they're not black. They're actually orange. It helps them actually identify them in the wreckage. They're called black boxes because the original design was designed not to let light in. And there are essentially two black boxes. One is the digital flight data recorder, and the second is the cockpit voice recorder. And they provide very important information about what exactly the airplane was doing on the flight, and also what the pilots were talking about and what was happening in the cockpit.
Justin Green is an aviation attorney and former commercial and military pilot.
They're crash resistant. They can go into the water and stay in the water down to 20,000 feet. They also have a beacon on them, and the beacon sends out a locator signal for up to 30 days.
Quick history lesson. At least two people have been credited with the creation of black boxes, including French aviation engineer Francois Houssaneau, who developed techniques to record a plane's speed and altitude, and Australian scientist David Warren, credited for the cockpit voice recorder. Australia was the first country to mandate airlines put black boxes on their planes following a deadly crash in 1960, the U.S. following suit in 1967. Today, black boxes are not in every plane or helicopter, though the Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, does require the devices on commercial planes. According to the National Transportation and Safety Board, or NTSB, black boxes are typically installed in a plane's tail, usually considered the most crash survivable part of the aircraft.
Black boxes have been key to NTSB investigations for several decades.
Dr. Alan Deal is a former NTSB investigator and investigated a Potomac River plane crash in 1982.
Using that black box, we were able to establish the co-pilot, or the first officer who was flying, was trying to convince the captain that something was wrong. So these recorders are absolutely critical to solving the mystery.
NTSB recommendations often come following aviation tragedy, and the absence of black boxes often sustains the mystery.
Still no emergency transmitter signal, no sign of wreckage.
After the disappearance of the Malaysia jet a decade ago, they expanded the amount of time that has to be recorded on the flight data recorder from 2 hours to 25 hours.
Still, some say the devices could use important updates. Has there been any discussion about updating the information black boxes collect?
After the Malaysia 370 disappearance, there was a big question of why don't they live stream the data? What about video? And so the question is there a need for it? And balancing the legitimate privacy interests of pilots, it'll be something that we debate, continue to debate going forward.
And that's Black Boxes Simply Explained. And of course, we always want to hear from you. Let us know what you want simply explained by connecting with me on your favorite social media platform at Simply Zinclay.
Zinkley, thank you for that. We are tracking dangerous winter storms from coast to coast. In the south, at least 2 people have died after suspected tornadoes swept through Tennessee and Kentucky. And in the Midwest and the Northeast, millions of people are bracing for more snow and freezing rain. To the west, parts of California are still drying out from rain that led to flooding and mudslides. Take a look at that home. It slid into the Russian River in Sonoma County. Meteorologist Bill Cairns is tracking all of it, but we'll start with NBC News correspondent George Solis. George, I understand crews are out assessing the damage from all of the storms. What are they seeing across the country?
Yeah, hey, Kate. Obviously, it's a very busy weather map right now. What you're actually seeing officials as well surveying. Governor Bill Lee in Tennessee, as we speak, surveying some of the damage, speaking with survivors out of those harrowing images of that tornado from overnight. Unfortunately, as you said, we know 2 people lost their lives in Morgan County, Tennessee. There was actually another tornado not far in Deer Lodge, Tennessee, where you also saw, in Thornhill, Tennessee, Granger County, an EF1 tornado, according to the National Weather Service. And we just learned of another one, an EF1 in Jackson County, Tennessee. So you have 3 total tornadoes in Tennessee as well. And then you talk about one in Kentucky as well. No injuries there as far as we know. That was in south central Kentucky in Hart County. On top of that, you also have the rain and those potential for mudslides in California. So there's also that weather that's impacting. You have crews working out there surveying some of those harrowing images as well. And we can't forget about the Northeast, where you're starting to see some snow impacts as well. Again, very active weather season right now, what we're seeing. And again, obviously the most impactful right now, there's 2 lives lost in Tennessee there, Kate.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Thank you so much, George. Bill, let me turn to you. So what are you watching right now, and when are the next round of storms moving in?
Yeah, as you mentioned, the west is starting to dry out. We just got a few showers that are left over here. Still got some snow in the high elevations. Probably the worst weather in the entire country right now is in Salt Lake City. The blue shows you where it's rain and the green is snow, so it's kind of a mess right around the city. Hopefully the roads are just staying okay. Any treated surfaces will be just fine, but careful traveling into the higher elevations once you get out of Salt Lake. So as far as the storm goes, this one is heading up through the northern Rockies today. Tomorrow it heads out into the plains, and this is the beginning of a very active weather pattern. We're going to have, it looks like, 4 storms going from the west coast to the east coast over the next 9 days. And you can see the kind of 1, 2, 3, and then 4. That would be next weekend. And that one even could be a big one for the east coast, but we'll wait and see how that all plays out. So already, just with this first storm, we got about over 70 million people under winter weather alerts. We have winter storm warnings, Billings, Montana, right around Jackson. We got a winter storm warning, and now we've got some winter storm warnings right in the border here of South Dakota and North Dakota. Minneapolis, by the way, expecting about 4 to 5 inches of snow from this next storm system, and that's where the travel trouble spot will be as we go throughout your Saturday from Minneapolis, and then all of this mess heads to the east coast. Looks like a pretty heavy snow event for areas in northern New England, so that could mess up airplanes and travel all the way across the country. But for my friends on the west coast, the next big storm for you looks to be Wednesday of next week, and that one could be significant.
All right.